Hello everyone, I am back with another video today. Today we are making the Date Nut Loaf bread. This is our second to last recipe from the little mini chapter in Baking Yesteryear for date recipes. We've got this one, and then next week we will be finishing up with this chapter with the date souffle. Um, and then we will be moving on to the 1930s chapter, which I am really looking forward to. Over the past year or two, I've really gotten into Depression era recipes, so I am really, really excited to be starting the 30s chapter, but we'll talk more about that in a couple weeks when we get there. Um, Today, we are doing the Date Nut Loaf, which is another quick bread. I know we've done a couple other quick breads on this channel already, but we have not done a date one. I've never made a date nut loaf before, never even had a date nut loaf or anything like that. I've never tried it. So I am really looking forward to giving this a try. Um, really, up until this chapter, I have not made a lot with dates or even really eaten a lot of stuff with dates. So all of these recipes have been a very new and experience for me, and honestly, one that I have really enjoyed. So I'm hoping that this recipe will be just as good as the previous two date recipes we've made. Um, the date bars were good. The date macaroons that we made last week were fantastic. So I'm hoping that the trend continues with this date nut loaf. So with that said, let's get started. All right, so for our date nut loaf bread, we've got some water, which we will be bringing to a boil. First thing, as the recipe called for boiling water, I just didn't want to get it boiling before going over all the ingredients with you guys. We've got butter. Of course, we have our dates. We've got sugar, flour, eggs. In here, we have baking soda and some cinnamon, and then we have our walnuts. So this is everything that we will be using for the date nut loaf bread. Let's get started by getting our water boiling. All right, so I got my water on the stove. I'm going to bring this to a boil. While I'm waiting for that to boil, I am going to grease my loaf pan really quick. Once this is boiling, we are going to pour this over our dates. I did transfer the dates to a bigger bowl just to have room to pour the water on top. Once this is boiling, I will be back. All right, so I have poured the boiling water over the dates. We are just going to let this sit. It said to let it sit at least 5 minutes. So after I have let it sit 5 minutes, I will be back and we will continue with the next step, which is to cream together the um, butter and the sugar. I do also just want to kind of jump in here really quick and say that there was a little note in the book saying that you could substitute the sugar, the regular sugar with brown sugar and use a mixture of water and molasses to soak the dates with if you're making this around Christmas time and you want something a little bit more Christmassy. Um, I might give that a try at some time because it sounds really good. But for now, we are just going to be continuing with the regular version of this. After these have soaked a little bit longer, I will be back. All right, so my dates have been sitting a while. They actually have sat longer than the 5 minutes. Um, and everything. So we are going to continue by creaming together the butter and the sugar. Once that is done, we are going to add the eggs. Once I am ready to add the eggs to this, I will be back. All right, so I got that mixed in. I am going to get the eggs beat in, and once I have that done, I will be back. All right, so the eggs are beaten into our sugar mixture. I am going to combine our dry ingredients. So this is the flour, baking soda, and the cinnamon. And we are going to mix the dry ingredients along with the dates and the water into the sugar mixture, kind of alternating between the flour or the dry ingredients and the dates. Um, and we're just going to mix that till it is just barely combined. Once I have that done, I will be back. All right, so I've got that all mixed in together. We are going to fold in the walnuts here and get this into our loaf pan and get it baking. All right, so I've got our batter into the loaf pan here. Let's get this in the oven. It does have to bake for about an hour or so, so let's get this started so we can give it a try. Okay, so our bread is done. I'm going to let this cool a little bit and then I am going to give it a try. It smells really good and I cannot wait to try it. So after this is cooled a bit and I've given it a try, I will be back with my final thoughts. All right, so I am back with my final thoughts on the Date Nut Loaf. I thought it was excellent. I really liked it. It had a nice cinnamony flavor. It was really good. I highly recommend making this recipe if you have this book. Turned out really well. I am kind of curious to see how it would be with the more Christmassy variation and everything like that. So I might give that a try around the holidays next year. If I do decide, I might do a video on it, depending on how time goes. Please let me know if you would be interested in seeing a video on the Christmas variation of the date. Wow, I so cannot talk right now. The Date Nut Loaf from Baking Yesteryear. Um, I do, like I said, do recommend giving this a try if you have this book. Let me know if you've made this, if you have Baking Yesteryear, and what you thought of it. Let me know if you've made a date nut loaf, and how yours is different or the same as this one, what you thought of your recipe, how it compares to this one, and all of that good stuff. Next week, we will be back with the date souffle. It'll be the last recipe from the little mini date chapter. And then, like I said at the beginning of this video, after that, we will be starting the 1930s chapter, which I am really looking forward to. Please like this video if you liked it. Please share it. Please make sure you're subscribed. And until next week, good times, good food. Bye.